The trap of being liked. Chasing approval weakens authority. People who need to be liked become slaves to others' opinions. Respect is born from boundaries. Respect doesn't come from kindness, it comes from limits. The line you will not allow others to cross. Fear over love. Love is fragile. Respect mixed with fear is unbreakable. Machiavelli, it is safer to be feared than loved. Detach from pleasing. Stop apologizing. Stop softening your words. Pleasing everyone is the path to being used and discarded. Respect requires strength. Display strength in voice, in decisions, in presence. People respect firmness, not excuses. The cost of respect: you will lose approval. Some will hate you, but those who remain will treat your words as law. The transformation: once you stop craving likes, people sense a shift. Authority replaces weakness. You command rooms, not beg for attention. Most people waste their lives begging to be liked. Soft, forgettable, easily controlled. But respect makes men feared, unshaken, and powerful. Today, we'll uncover how to stop being liked and how to unlock the dark power of respect that bends others to your will. History doesn't remember the likable. It remembers the strong, the respected, the feared. Niccolo Machiavelli taught that men must choose to be loved or to be feared. To chase love is to chain yourself to weakness. But respect builds empires. In this journey, I will reveal how you can shed the useless burden of being liked and instead command respect, the only currency of real power. Most people live their lives as slaves without ever realizing it. They are chained not by iron, not by walls, not by kings, but by the invisible leash of wanting to be liked. Watch closely and you will see it everywhere. A man enters a room and adjusts his words so no one feels offended. A woman swallows her opinion because she fears disapproval. Leaders bend to the will of the crowd, terrified of losing their popularity. This disease of being liked spreads quietly, rotting the strength of anyone who touches it. But what does it mean to be liked? It means to be pleasant, agreeable, soft enough to never challenge anyone. To be liked, you must smooth your edges until nothing sharp remains. You must silence your true voice and wear a mask that pleases the crowd. The tragedy is that in this endless pursuit, people give away the one thing they can never regain: their authority. Being liked is a form of begging. It says, "Please accept me. Please don't reject me." And once you beg, you no longer stand tall. You kneel, you wait for others to grant you the approval that should never have been theirs to give. The man who lives to be liked is not respected. He is tolerated, and tolerance is the lowest form of recognition. Look at history. Do you remember the rulers who were loved by all? No. You remember the rulers who commanded respect. The weak, the agreeable, the likable. They vanish into the dust of time. Their smiles and soft words brought them temporary affection, but affection is fleeting. People turn their backs the moment something stronger, bolder, more certain appears. The crowd's love is like water in your hands. It slips away no matter how tightly you hold it. When you seek to be liked, you surrender control of yourself to others. Your every choice becomes a performance. You wear clothes for their approval, speak words for their comfort, suppress your ambition for their peace. Slowly, piece by piece, you are erased. And when you are erased, no one fears you, no one respects you, no one obeys you. You are just another shadow in the background of life. But why does this trap feel so powerful? Because at first, being liked feels safe. You avoid conflict, you avoid rejection, you avoid the sting of disapproval. For a while, it seems easier to bend than to stand, but this safety is an illusion. People do not admire those who bend, they exploit them. They do not trust the agreeable, they use them. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you hand over a piece of your dignity. And dignity once surrendered is rarely returned. The truth is brutal but clear. The desire to be liked is the fastest road to weakness. The moment you hunger for approval, you can be controlled. If a man knows you cannot stand the thought of being disliked, he will use it against you. He will withhold his approval, he will dangle affection like a prize, and you will dance to his tune. Entire empires have been broken not by armies, but by rulers desperate to keep the love of their people. The world is not kind to the likable. The world rewards the strong, the unshakable, the respected. To chase after being liked is to place your worth in the hands of the crowd, and the crowd is fickle. Today they cheer you, tomorrow they burn you. Today they smile at you, tomorrow they mock you. Popularity is a current, always shifting, never steady. To tie yourself to it is to drown. Respect, on the other hand, is a mountain. It does not move with the wind. It does not depend on the mood of others. And the first step to climbing that mountain is to stop caring whether people like you or not. Because until you kill that hunger, until you cut that leash, you will never know freedom. The trap of being liked is the death of authority. It is the invisible poison that weakens men before they even realize they've been touched. And the tragedy is that most will die never knowing they were prisoners their entire lives, chained not by enemies, but by their own desperate need for approval. Respect is not given freely, nor is it born out of kindness. Respect is carved from the lines you draw, the limits you enforce, the walls you refuse to let others climb. When a man is respected, it is not because he smiles or bends. It is because people know there are places they cannot touch, rules they cannot break, boundaries they dare not cross. Consider this: a man who never sets limits, who always says yes, who allows anyone to take his time, his energy, his dignity. What does he receive in return? Certainly not respect. He is stepped on, ignored, and taken for granted. People may find him pleasant, they may find him easy, but respect, never. Respect lives only where there are consequences. Boundaries are the invisible lines of power. They say, "This is who I am, and this is where I stand. Cross this line, and there is a price to pay." Without these lines, you are shapeless, undefined. People push and pull you as they wish. With these lines, you become solid, immovable, a figure others must navigate around rather than walk through. Think of the great leaders, the rulers, the men and women who commanded obedience. They did not beg for respect. They demanded it not with words, but with the strength of their boundaries. They would not allow betrayal without punishment. They would not allow weakness without consequence. They understood that respect is never born from love alone, but from fear of what happens when the line is crossed. The man who sets no boundaries is a man without value. He gives away his time to anyone who asks. He lowers his voice so no one feels offended. He accepts disrespect because he fears confrontation. And in doing so, he trains the world to see him as small, insignificant, forgettable. Why would anyone respect the one who refuses to protect himself? Why would anyone obey the one who cannot even enforce his own dignity? Boundaries are not just about saying no. They are about creating an aura of strength that surrounds you. When people know you cannot be manipulated, they think twice before they try. When people know your word cannot be bent, they treat it as law. Respect begins when people realize that you are not afraid to lose their approval, not afraid to face their anger, not afraid to stand alone. Without boundaries, kindness becomes weakness, generosity becomes exploitation, patience becomes submission. But with boundaries, every act of kindness is doubled in power because it comes from choice, not from fear. People admire the man who chooses to give but refuses to be drained. They admire the leader who can forgive but will not tolerate betrayal. Strength makes kindness meaningful. The harsh truth is this: people do not respect what they can use. They respect what they cannot bend. Children do not respect the parent who gives them everything. They respect the parent who disciplines them. Soldiers do not respect the general who tries to be their friend. They respect the general who leads them into battle and punishes disobedience. Lovers do not respect the partner who accepts every insult. They respect the one who demands loyalty. Respect grows where boundaries are guarded. A life without boundaries is a life lived in the shadow of others. You may feel liked, you may feel safe, but you will never feel power. Power comes from the ability to deny, to refuse, to walk away. And that ability is built on boundaries that no one dares to test. Boundaries force the world to measure you. They mark the space where you stand, the space where your voice carries weight, the space where your presence cannot be ignored. To live without them is to dissolve into nothing. To live with them is to command attention, even in silence. Love is beautiful, but it is fragile. It bends with the wind, it breaks with time, and it disappears the moment something stronger takes its place. Fear, however, endures. Fear is remembered. Fear commands. Love asks politely, but fear enforces obedience without words. This is why Machiavelli declared that if one must choose, it is far safer to be feared than loved. Think of the people you admire, the ones you consider great, untouchable, larger than life. Do you admire them only because they were loved, or do you admire them because they could not be challenged, because they carried an aura of danger, because no one dared to disrespect them? Love can make men adored, but fear makes them unshakable. A leader who is loved may find himself surrounded by smiles and affection, but the moment he makes a decision that displeases the crowd, their love turns into hatred. It vanishes as if it never existed. Love is conditional, always dependent on the moods and whims of others. Fear, on the other hand, does not vanish so easily. Once people fear you, they calculate their every move before they act against you. They may dislike you, they may even hate you, but that fear restrains them. It keeps them silent, it keeps them obedient, it keeps them in place. Many men make the mistake of building their power on love alone. They become addicted to being adored, to being praised, to being followed willingly. But the crowd is fickle. Today, they may call you a savior. Tomorrow, they may call you a tyrant. A single failure can erase years of affection. If your foundation is love, your empire is built on sand. If your foundation is fear, your empire is built on stone. This does not mean cruelty for the sake of cruelty. It does not mean tyranny without thought. Fear is not about rage, it is about control. It is about ensuring that even in moments of doubt, even in times of weakness, people hesitate before turning against you. Fear sets a boundary that love cannot. Love says, I will follow you as long as you please me. Fear says, I will obey you because I dare not face the consequences. Look at history's rulers. The loved ones often fell to betrayal. Julius Caesar was loved, but his love did not save him from the blades of his closest allies. Meanwhile, those who were feared, those who commanded respect mixed with dread, lasted far longer. They ruled not because people adored them, but because people understood the price of disobedience. Even in personal life, this truth remains. A parent who seeks only to be loved by their child ends up raising a disobedient, disrespectful offspring. The child sees no consequence, no reason to listen, because love without fear is weak. But the parent who is respected, even feared a little, raises children who know their limits. In relationships too, the partner who bends endlessly to please is discarded, while the one who demands respect holds power. Love can be sweet, but it is unreliable. People love you when you give, when you please, when you entertain. But the moment you stop, their affection cools. Fear, however, is reliable. It may not warm your heart, but it protects your throne. Fear does not rely on the emotions of others. It relies on their survival instinct, and survival is the strongest force of all. To build your life on love is to hand your strength to others. To build it on fear is to anchor your strength within yourself. A man who is loved but not feared will one day be betrayed. A man who is feared, even if not loved, will be obeyed until the end. There is a sickness in the modern world, a silent weakness that spreads from man to man like a plague. The desire to please everyone. To please is to kneel, to bend your own will until it snaps, to replace your truth with the comfort of others. When you live to please, you stop living for yourself. You begin to exist only as a mirror, reflecting back what others wish to see, and in doing so, you erase your own power. Pleasing feels safe, it feels easy. You say yes when you want to say no. You soften your words so no one feels cut. You lower your voice so no one feels challenged. And for a moment it works. People smile, they nod, they treat you as agreeable. But underneath that smile is something colder. They have measured you and found you weak. They have seen that you will sacrifice yourself to maintain their approval, and in that moment they know you can be used. The world does not respect the pleaser, it exploits him. People will pile their demands on his back, knowing he will never resist. They will drain his time, his money, his energy, until nothing is left. And when he is broken, when he has given everything away, they will discard him without gratitude, because people do not value what costs them nothing. The man who pleases everyone ends up respected by no one. Detach from pleasing and a strange transformation occurs. At first, people will resist. They will push harder. They will test your silence, your refusals, your sudden lack of compliance. They will call you selfish, arrogant, cold. But in truth, this is their fear speaking, the fear of losing control over you. Because the moment you stop pleasing, you stop being their servant, and you begin to stand as your own master. Pleasing is the enemy of honesty. The pleaser cannot speak truth, for truth offends. The pleaser cannot show strength, for strength intimidates. The pleaser cannot stand alone, for he is addicted to the crowd. Detach from pleasing, and you reclaim honesty. You begin to speak what is real, not what is safe. You begin to act with strength, not apology. You begin to carry yourself with a dignity that others feel even in silence. Look closely at those who hold real power. Do they bend their voices to be accepted? Do they dilute their opinions so no one feels discomfort? No, they speak with clarity. They act with finality. They do not chase the approval of the crowd, because they know the crowd is unworthy of leading them. They lead themselves, and in doing so, they lead others. The pleaser follows the world. The powerful make the world follow them. There is also a hidden cruelty in pleasing. When you always agree, when you always bend, when you always smile, you become dishonest. You allow others to believe in a lie, that you approve of what you despise, that you support what you resist, that you are happy when you are not. This dishonesty poisons relationships. It creates bonds built on illusion rather than truth. In the end, the pleaser is not only weak, he is also false. To detach from pleasing is to step into conflict, but conflict is not your enemy. Conflict is the forge where respect is made. People may not like you when you stop pleasing them, but they will begin to respect you. They will know you cannot be moved by small tricks, cannot be seduced by false praise, cannot be broken by disapproval. And once they know this, they will treat you as solid, as unshakable, as someone they must reckon with. The hunger to please is nothing more than the fear of rejection. But what is rejection? Truly, it is nothing. A moment of silence, a lost smile, a face turned away. It cannot harm you unless you allow it to. Detach from pleasing and rejection loses its grip. You will see it for what it is, the noise of weak people trying to keep you weak with them. Pleasing is a prison built with invisible bars, a cage where you lock yourself in and hand the key to others. Detach from pleasing, and you step out of that cage. You walk into the open field of freedom where your words, your choices, and your presence carry the weight of truth. Respect is not born from words alone. It is not earned by polite gestures or the shallow attempts to appear agreeable. Respect is forged in the fire of strength, strength of voice, strength of presence, strength of decision. Without strength, no man can command respect, for respect is not given to the weak. It is only granted to those who prove they cannot be moved, cannot be shaken, and cannot be bent by the will of others. Watch the way people respond when a weak man speaks. His voice trembles, his body folds inward, his words trail off as if he doubts them himself. No matter how true his message may be, no one listens. They look past him as if he does not exist. Now watch the strong man, even if he says little. His words cut like iron because his presence demands attention. People listen not because he asks them to, but because his strength leaves them no choice. Strength is not only physical. In fact, physical strength alone means little without the will to enforce it. True strength is mental and emotional. It is the firmness of a man who does not bow to pressure. It is the calm of someone who does not lose himself in anger. It is the steel of one who makes a decision and does not waver when others push against it. This kind of strength cannot be faked, because the world constantly tests it. The weak are exposed the moment they are challenged. The strong are revealed because they do not break when fire surrounds them. Respect requires strength because people instinctively measure you. They are always testing, always watching, always pressing to see if you will hold your ground or collapse. A leader without strength is soon devoured by his followers. A friend without strength becomes the tool of others. A man without strength loses even the respect of himself. It is through strength that you create boundaries, that you enforce consequences, that you show the world who you are without ever having to explain it. Consider how predators move in the wild. They do not chase after the strongest in the herd. They hunt the weak, the slow, the ones that cannot defend themselves. Human beings are no different. The world hunts weakness. It exploits it, laughs at it, drains it. Strength is the shield that protects you from being consumed. When you radiate strength, predators turn away. They may not like you, they may even fear you, but they will respect you. Strength also commands respect because it creates certainty. People are drawn to certainty the way a drowning man is drawn to land. In a world full of hesitation and doubt, the one who stands firm becomes a pillar for others to lean on. Even those who oppose him secretly admire him because he has what they do not, the courage to stand without trembling. This is why weak leaders fall and strong leaders rise. The weak make promises they cannot keep, decisions they cannot enforce, and rules they cannot defend. The strong keep order because their certainty leaves no room for confusion. Strength is also revealed in silence. You do not need to shout to be respected. In fact, the man who shouts too often proves he has no true power. Real strength is calm. It is the quiet assurance that you can act, that you will act, and that when you do, it will change everything. People respect silence when it is backed by strength, because silence becomes a threat more powerful than words. But strength must also be visible. You cannot hide it and hope people will assume it is there. You must carry yourself with posture, with clarity, with the discipline of someone who controls himself before he controls others. A man who is strong in presence does not fidget, does not beg for attention, does not stumble through excuses. He walks into a room and the room adjusts around him. That adjustment is respect in its purest form. Respect requires strength because weakness is invisible. No one sees the weak, no one remembers the weak, no one follows the weak. They are forgotten before their lives even end, but the strong carve their mark into the world. Their names are spoken with caution, their words are remembered, their presence is felt even in their absence. That is the power of strength. It ensures that respect is not a choice others make. It becomes the only option they have. Fear and respect are born from the same root. They walk side by side like shadows that can never be separated. Many men try to win respect through kindness alone, through endless smiles and generous offerings, but they discover a bitter truth. Kindness without strength breeds not respect, but contempt. The man who is only kind, only pleasing, only soft, becomes easy to bend, easy to control, easy to ignore. People may call him good, but in their hearts they do not respect him. They use him, and when he is empty, they discard him. Respect without fear is fragile, like glass that shatters at the first strike. Fear is the edge of respect. It is the line no one dares cross. When a man is respected, people listen. When he is feared as well, people obey. Obedience may not sound beautiful, but it is the foundation of order, power, and stability. Without the sharpness of fear, respect becomes too soft, too easily broken. Fear strengthens it, binds it, gives it weight. Think of a ruler who is admired but not feared. His people praise him in daylight and betray him in the dark. Now think of the ruler who is respected and feared. His people may not love him, but they dare not betray him, because betrayal carries a price. Do not misunderstand fear. It is not cruelty for cruelty's sake. It is not mindless brutality. That is the mark of a tyrant doomed to fall. True fear is control, a careful design of consequences. It is the quiet knowledge in others that crossing you will bring discomfort, pain, or loss they are unwilling to risk. Fear is not always loud. Often it is silent but powerful. A single glance from the strong can strike more fear than 100 threats from the weak. Fear and respect together create balance. Too much fear without respect breeds hatred, and hatred eventually seeks revenge. Too much respect without fear breeds weakness, and weakness invites exploitation. The master of power knows this balance. He is respected for his strength, his clarity, his presence, but he is also feared because those around him know his strength is not for show. It can be used, and it will be used if provoked. Look at history. The leaders who endured, the ones who carved their names into centuries, were not the soft, pleasing figures who tried to be loved by all. They were the ones who understood that it is safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Because love is fickle, fragile, and easily turned, but fear lingers. Fear roots itself deep in the human mind. Respect alone might fade, but respect mixed with fear becomes unshakable. In personal life, the same law applies. The man who is respected but not feared is admired, yes, but his boundaries are still tested, still crossed, still violated. He may have status, but his presence lacks weight. But the man who carries fear with his respect lives differently. When he speaks, people measure their words. When he moves, people give way. When he sets a boundary, no one dares to push against it. Fear does not make him cruel. It makes him untouchable. Fear is also protection. When people fear you, they think twice before betraying you, before insulting you, before trying to harm you. This protection is not given by love, because love can die the moment emotions change. Fear remains. Even when emotions shift, even when people grow bitter or envious, fear holds them back from acting against you. It is an invisible armor, one that cannot be pierced by smiles or false promises. Respect without fear makes you admirable, but replaceable. Fear without respect makes you powerful, but hated. But when the two are joined, you step into a realm few ever reach, untouchable authority. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to chase after others. They will adjust themselves around you because their respect pulls them toward you and their fear keeps them in place. Fear and respect are not enemies. They are twins bound forever. To master both is to master influence. To wield both is to ensure that when you walk into the world, no one dares to mistake your kindness for weakness, and no one dares to forget the weight of your presence. Respect is often spoken of as something light, noble, and pure. People dress it in gentle words, saying it should be earned through kindness, through compassion, through selfless acts. But true respect, the kind that bends people's wills and changes the direction of their lives, is far darker. It is not built on softness, but on dominance. It does not rise from making others comfortable, but from unsettling them. It is not given freely, it is taken. This is the dark power of respect. It demands recognition, it commands loyalty, and it leaves no space for indifference. The dark power of respect makes men memorable. Think of the countless faces you have seen in your life, faces that blur into one another, forgotten as soon as they vanish from sight. Now think of the rare few whose presence lingers long after they leave the room. Why? Because they carried respect like a shadow, and their shadow fell across you. You did not need to like them. You may have even disliked them, but you could not ignore them. That is the mark of the dark power. It etches you into the minds of others, whether they welcome it or not. At its core, the dark power of respect is built upon control. Control over yourself first, for no man can demand respect if he is enslaved by his own impulses. A man who cannot master his anger, his fear, his desires, will always reveal cracks in his armor. Respect vanishes the moment weakness is exposed. But the man who controls himself radiates strength. He walks with restraint, he speaks with precision, he acts with finality, and others feel it, even without understanding it. But control of the self is only the beginning. The dark power of respect extends outward, shaping how others respond to you. It is not about asking to be respected. It is about leaving no choice but to respect you. This means creating boundaries no one dares to cross. It means setting standards so high that those who wish to approach you must rise to meet them. It means ensuring that your presence itself carries consequences. When others know that ignoring you, dismissing you, or defying you will cost them something, comfort, opportunity, security, they cannot help but respect you. The dark power of respect is not always loud. In fact, it thrives in silence. It is in the glance that makes someone hesitate before speaking. It is in the pause that stretches long enough to make others uncomfortable. It is in the quiet refusal that says more than 1,000 excuses. The pleaser fills silence with apologies. The respected man lets silence work for him because he knows silence backed by strength is more frightening than any roar. There is also a cold truth within this power. Not everyone will like you, and you must not want them to. To seek universal approval is to strip yourself of respect. The dark power of respect requires sacrifice. It demands that you give up the illusion of being loved by all. You must accept that some will resent you, some will fear you, some will speak ill of you when you are gone. But even in their hatred, they will still respect you because they cannot erase the weight of your presence. Better to be respected and hated than to be liked and forgotten. This power also creates distance. Respect is never born in the crowd of equals. It is born in separation, in distinction, in the subtle distance that reminds people you are not the same as them. You may walk among them, but you are not one of them. You think differently, act differently, carry yourself differently. That distance makes people uneasy, but it also makes them look up. The dark power of respect thrives on this tension, near enough to influence, but far enough to remain untouchable. And there is a final truth about this power. Once you have it, everything changes. Doors open that were once locked. Voices fall silent when you speak. Opportunities flow to you, not because people like you, but because they cannot afford to ignore you. Respect in its dark form is a kind of currency, more valuable than money, more lasting than beauty, more enduring than charm. It cannot be faked for long, it cannot be borrowed, and it cannot be stolen. It must be forged, earned, and defended with vigilance. The dark power of respect is not for the weak, nor for the desperate. It is for the one who can endure solitude, who can sacrifice the need to be liked, who can embrace both admiration and fear without trembling. It is a crown invisible yet heavy, and once it rests on your head, it changes not only how the world sees you, but how you see yourself. Respect is not a gift, it is a weapon. It is not granted to those who beg for it, it is claimed by those who embody it. To chase approval is to remain a servant, but to demand respect is to become a master. The world will always test you, pressing against your will, tugging at your weakness, tempting you to choose comfort over power. If you bend, you lose. If you stand firm, you rise. You have seen how the hunger to be liked strips men of dignity, how detachment from pleasing restores truth, how strength becomes the foundation of authority, and how fear, bound to respect, creates unshakable influence. All of these threads weave together into one lesson: stop trying to be liked and embrace the darker, heavier, sharper power of being respected. The choice is yours. Remain forgotten, pleasing, agreeable, a shadow in the crowd, or step into the dark power of respect, where not everyone will love you, but no one will ever ignore you.